Hey everyone, this is Jeff Plate of El Terrain. You are watching CMS TV.
It is your Classic Metal Show right here on your classicmetalshow.com. That is Saxon with Dallas 1 p.m. That going out by request to Tori Watson in Columbus, Ohio. And just before that, we heard Tesla with Coming At You Live for my nephew James listening to us live. And as always, we want to welcome our good friend Ron Keel to the show. What's going on there, Ron?
Greetings, gentlemen. Greetings, Classic Metal Show Nation. Great to be on the show tonight, and we've got a lot to talk about. Thanks for having us.
Well, you're always welcome, Ron. I mean, geez, you're like third mic here.
Yeah, I appreciate the support and the friendship that we've had for many, many years now. So, and I've enjoyed the first hour of the show. Thanks so much for the quality entertainment. I have to take a break now to go tend to the dogs. But I'll be right back.
Nice. And Neeley, I know you don't see him, but on the line as well is the great Charlie Kendall.
And where is he? He doesn't want to show his lovely face to the crowd.
Actually, I don't have a camera on.
God damn it! Well, yes, Charlie, send me your address. I'll send you a camera.
Well, it's my audio studio, and I just don't keep a camera in here. And you said I had to be, on just an audio line, couldn't be on the phone. So here I am. I'm here.
Right.
Got a nice classic picture for you back when I was pretty.
Well, Charlie, we want to welcome you to the Classic Metal Show. This show has been on for over 28 years, and one of the inspirations and one of the influences for me starting the show way back in '96 was your show, Metal Shop.
That's about the time it ended, wasn't it?
Yeah. So it was something that was missing at the time. And it was, a passion of mine to do a show that featured a lot of my favorite bands that were not being played or featured anymore on commercial radio. And it just kind of morphed into this mess that you're a part of today.
Well, I'm happy to be here. Thank you.
Well, very good. Well, Ron, let's start with you before we totally dig into Charlie and the Metal Shop. You, as always, you wear the crown as the busiest guy in the history of the world, I think, between recording, signing bands now, RFK Media, KRFK Radio. It's Ron fucking Keel all the time. It never stops, man. So catch us up. Where are we at in the world of Ron Keel?
Man, it doesn't stop. And if you stop, you drop. And these wonderful opportunities have always just presented themselves to me. And when opportunity knocks, I answer the door. And the chance to get Charlie Kendall back on the mic, resurrect the Classic Metal Show broadcast. Really, we owe this to Corey Harker, our producer, our friend, your friend, my friend. He is the station manager, tech director, and he wears a lot of hats at KRFK Radio. He's the engine that makes us roll down the highway. And Corey came to me with this idea. He and Charlie had struck up a friendship online, and that was really the impetus that got this thing rolling. Corey came to me and wanted to rebroadcast the old episodes of Metal Shop. And we can't legally do that.
Right.
I said, is there any chance that Charlie would steer the ship and create new content in the tradition of the old Metal Shop? And thank God Charlie is excited to be back on the show and on the radio. And, my first conversation with Charlie Kendall, I called him on, and I said, Charlie? He said, yes. I said, that's all I need to hear, man. I heard that voice, and it was all over with. Just to have this guy on our station, premiering next Saturday night, 1 week from tonight at 7 p.m. Eastern Time, the premiere episode of the resurrected Charlie Kendall's Metal Shop, episode 001. You've heard it, Chris. I've heard it. It's amazing.
It's great. So great. Well, Charlie, talk about this for you, man. I mean, you walked away a long time ago, man. What? Now, I know as somebody that's done radio myself for eons, once you get that bug, you never kind of lose it. Is that what it was with you? Is it it's always kind of been there, and then you just finally felt the right was the right time to bring it back?
It actually was about the turn of this century, around 2000, when I thought, I think there's still an audience out there for this. And I started trying to buy up all the old metal shop shows from the people that own them now was, MJI Broadcasting. And I tried to buy them up, and I found out that they had destroyed them all. Ugh. And that's how I ran into Corey Harker.
Okay.
Corey had copies, and lots of them. And there's a Metal Shop fan page, and I went there and I talked to Corey back and forth, and we swapped a bunch of shows and got to talking, and he knew that I was interested. And he introduced me to Ron, and then, like you said, Ron is a nonstop motherfucking machine. He's got things going that I can't keep up. I mean, I get an email today. There's the whole layout for the rest of the year from Metal Shop. Corey's got it ready to go, and I know that we're ready that if something happens, and hell, at the age that I know I am, there's going to be something happen that we're going to have to do tribute shows and all kinds of things. And thanks to Ron Keel, we have the organization that can take care of that instantly. Get right on it. And you don't find that kind of shit anywhere.
Right.
And I'm just happy to be on board. I'm happy to be in the stable with all you guys and all the people that are on KRFK and getting at this thing that I love. I love it. I love the music. I love the players. I love the fans.
Well, Charlie, what have you been doing the last, few years, last decade or two? I mean, have you been involved somehow with the music business or broadcasting or voiceover work or anything like that? What have you been doing as far as, your broadcast career is concerned?
Well, in the early 90s, I bought some radio stations. And, I ran them. I got them up and running and made it all happen the way I wanted to. And it was the kind of thing that when that Communications Act of 1996 came along, all of a sudden there weren't mom and pop owners anymore in radio. Right. There were real estate agents who had no intention whatsoever of anything other than, being greedy motherfuckers. They didn't care what the content was. They still don't. They don't care what comes out of the speaker. They don't care about the fans. They don't much care about the advertiser. They only care about making money and as much of it as possible. And I just didn't want to be a part of that anymore. And I kind of got in a last decade, moving up into the early 2000s, right after 9/11. I was like, I'm going to go help my friend in Lexington, Kentucky, Lynn Martin, because I have an interest in this station. He's got 7 stations here and 15 stations total. So basically, I ran these for him up until about 2-3 years ago. Okay. And that's when, I really retired and did a lot of fishing. And I restored about 8 motorcycles and a couple of 1953 pickups, which was all great and all fun. And then I got fucking bored. And I've been looking for something to do because I don't want to be in the management part anymore. That's right. God, I've got Ron Keel. I don't got to do that shit. All I have to do is be a DJ, and that's how I started. I was 14 years old. I said, you play music, you get paid? Hell yeah, I'm in. And I did. I did it. I was also a musician, playing in a band. We placed 3rd in Dick Clark's Teenage Battle of the Bands in 1965 in Denver, Colorado.
Wow.
Big fucking deal. But I learned I learned how to play. Right. I mean, I still make music, and I make music for various movies and broadcast companies. I mean, this is mine. That's me. If you can hear it.
Yeah, we hear it.
It's like this is my theme song, like WWE and the Octagon, as I come out looking all muscle bound and shit. That's what I like to do. I like creating stuff. It's important to me. to be creative. That's me.
Right.
So that's what I've been doing. And now I can pretty much give all of my attention to Ron Keel, Corey Hawker, and getting Metal Shop back to the place where it was, where it made people feel welcome, brought them in. If I can actually go out to a parking lot and people have the doors open and I can hear it and it's Metal Shop, then I've done it. I've come full circle totally.
Right on. I ain't gonna lie. Just sitting here being part of this, I feel like I'm talking to my radio 25 years ago. That voice is so signature, man.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Look, I'm lucky. You know, I was born with it. You know, I told you, I've always been a lucky motherfucker. Right place, right time, right skills. You know, and here I am, and I've got people like you helping to get this thing off the ground.
Sure.
Charlie, you're going to have to tone it down a little bit. This is a family-friendly show. You're going to have
Call the wrong fucking guy. This is what they used to have to cut out when I was doing Metal Shop, you know, back in the 80s. And boy, I had a great guy. Steve Sayarto was the blade guy, because remember, it was tape back then.
Right.
And he had to cut out those things. And they did a Christmas show every year, a Christmas party, and he would take my mistakes and my screaming and my fuck ups and me, you know, cursing and string it all together for like 5 or 10 minutes. And they played it during the party every year. It was
awesome.
a highlight.
Do you have any of those, Charlie? I want to play that shit on KRFK Radio, man. I need that stuff. That's awesome. It's money in the bag, brother.
Steve's got it somewhere, I know.
Very cool. And what a history that this guy has in radio. Wendell, Chris, you, our listeners, everybody that grew up with metal in the 80s and early 90s has special memories of what that show meant to us. And from my perspective as an artist at the time, because just about the time Charlie was getting Metal Shop rolling, my career was starting to take off, and I had an album called The Right to Rock, which came out in early 1985. I have it on good authority. My partner and dear friend at RFK Media and KRFK Radio, Aaron Fisher, has a copy of the vinyl edition of Metal Shop from September of 1984 with Kiss. Kiss was Charlie's guest on the show, and apparently Gene played The Right to Rock. Now, this is before the album came out. I don't even think the album was mixed at that time because we were recording into October of that year. But for some reason, they played The Right to Rock on Metal Shop in 84. Now, I have what I feel is the official debut of The Right to Rock on classic Metal Shop vinyl. This was given to me as a gift from Corey Harker. But This is how they used to service the show. Back in the day, Charlie would do the show, and they send out hundreds of these vinyl records to all the stations all over the country, and that's how they got their weekly edition of Metal Shop. Really proud to have this in my collection.
Well, there was a minimum run of 500.
Yeah.
And the most stations we had was like 250, I think. So the other 250 went out to all the labels and all the bands and all the managers and any other friends. I mean, my son was like 10 at the time, and he got one at home, you know, so.
Well, that's cool. And I'm on this. I mean, this is The Right to Rock. They got the cue sheet here. This is the official document that came with the show. And it says somewhere, Road Warrior, Ron Keel of Keel, Music Keel, The Right to Rock. So to be a part of this resurrection with Charlie is it's more than business for me. Of course, it's a great business move. I want to entertain people. I want people to have a good time and hear stuff that they like and enjoy. That's the core of everything that I do. It's about entertaining people. But from a business standpoint, this is a great move for my company, RFK Media, my partners, Corey Harker, Aaron Fisher, my wife, Renee. All of us are super excited about this opportunity and can't wait to have our listening party next Saturday night, 7 p.m. Eastern on KRFK Radio for the debut of Charlie Kendall's Metal Shop.
Right.
Ron,
one more quick note here. There's this.
Metal Shop.
That iconic sounder came from Ron Keel's record And
right.
that's how we got going. You want to talk for full circle? There it is.
Yeah.
No
I mean,
question.
for Charlie to choose a piece of our music to create his signature sound certainly was always a thrill and an honor to hear that on the radio and to come full circle with Charlie and hear it again louder than ever now is I can't even tell you how excited we are about this and hope that people, I know that our fans, and I'm in the business of creating new stuff, but also celebrating the old stuff. We got to continue to celebrate our history, our legacy, or whatever. And I know that the fans, just like new music, they don't always accept your new music. All they want to hear is that Right to Rock scream, right? That I did 40 years ago. They don't want to hear the new Ron Keel band song. I hope that they will give this show a chance because it does combine the best of both worlds. We've got the vintage format with some of the classic, iconic music that Charlie played in the 80s with great interviews, vintage interviews from the 80s, some of our heroes that aren't even with us now. But we also have fresh metal and interviews with the same stars today. So you're going to get a combination of both elements, and you're going to go through the same experience that you had listening to Metal Shop back in the day. It's just going to be a lot fresher and a lot louder.
Well, Charlie, when you discontinued Metal Shop, and obviously you made a lot of friends and connections through the years with your show and a lot of guests you had on the show with you, did you maintain any of those friendships with any of these bands or artists or anything? Who would you consider some of your friends that even though you weren't doing the show anymore, you remained friends and associates with?
In terms of people who were actual close friends, I mean, Aerosmith, I mean, those guys, I go back to 72, 73 with them on the first album. That was my first gold record. I was in Boston, a little bitty station in Framingham, right outside of Boston. And the big station was WBCN. And only the afternoon drive DJ would play it. And that was Maxan Sartori. The rest of the guys wanted to play Leo Kottke. And that's all good. But, we were playing it over at WVBF. And they actually put me in the book, the Walk This Way book, thanks to Maxan. And, that's there. And I get a call from him now and then, although not lately because I don't want him talking. I want him to get that throat straightened out and get back at it. Right. And there are a couple of others, but mostly the relationships that I ended up in were with the management. I mean, David Krebs, Aerosmith, Scorpions, Nugent, AC/DC, Metallica. I mean, that was David Krebs. He was the guy that found those guys. And there were several other guys, but again, those kind of friendships, are generally off the record, and you leave it that way.
Mm-hmm. Right on. Charlie, Ron mentioned this, but I wanted to get a little further clarity on this as far as what music you're going to be featuring. Because I know for me, I discovered tons of bands from Metal Shop. I mean, that was literally one of the reasons that I listened to Metal Shop was, it was cool to hear the Motley Crue or Quiet Riot or whatever that was, on the radio everywhere. But it was also cool when you were breaking bands like Halloween, that just were not common. For you now, will you still be looking toward the new music, or obviously metal as a genre is very different. So what kind of music do you think we'll be hearing as we go forward with Metal Shop?
We want the show to be today. I mean, that's the whole thing. It's got to be now. When I first, ran into Corey, I had tried to do a podcast because you can't play the music without getting into all kinds of crap with the labels and YouTube and blah, blah, blah. So I found it wasn't going anywhere. It was just looking back, and I want to look forward. Right. And once Corey and I started talking about it, we start talking about moving the show forward, embracing new acts, fresh metal. I mean, how many bands did you hear on fresh metal? You remember. We're going to continue doing that. I've had people on that Metal Shop fan page who said, how do I send them in? How do I send my song to you? Well, we're already putting that out there. We want to hear it. We want to know what's out there, and we want to be a part of it, because this is a community. The hard rock metal gang is a community. It's a freaking army of soldiers, and we have to maintain that. And we're planning on doing that with Metal Shop.
Right on. And Ron, I want to ask you, with KRFK, the world has changed, and even since me and you and Neeley have been working together for a long time at this point, it seems like, as well. But the game has changed. When we all started, and Charlie, you probably don't know this, but Ron, I know you do. We were all trying to do internet radio, which was very hard to do. It just wasn't easy to do it. Getting a stream to work was hard. Getting more than 3 people to listen was hard. It's now grown to where it is radio. It's definitely first thing I do when I get in my car is connect my Bluetooth to my car before I'll even drive out of the driveway. So it's a viable thing now. KRFK is a great station that does not fall into the corporate trappings. It's kind of uncensored. It's music. It's not the same old 20 tracks. For you, Ron, do you see this as becoming a totally independent business from all of your other stuff that is very viable in today's market?
Well, Chris, I don't see why anyone wouldn't gravitate to online radio. We all know when you get 7 miles out of town that your signal is going to turn to static. I'm sure there were a lot of people in the early 1900s that, no, I'm not going to get into that car thing. I'm going to stick with my horse and buggy, right? Change is difficult for a lot of us, but I've always welcomed it and embraced it. And Wendell Neeley is the guy who turned me on to internet radio. Oh, you can have a station and a show online. My first ever radio interview, I say this every time I'm on with you guys, but Wendell had me on his station or his show, the Classic Metal Show. This very same show had to be 22, 23 years ago. Yep. And it really opened my eyes to the possibilities. And the possibilities are endless. We now have well over 25,000 listeners. And I don't know if that's a lot, but to me, that's an arena full plus. I mean, you're talking to an arena full of people, just like at Madison Square Garden. And the terrestrial stations, they can't tell you how many people are listening. They go by the Nielsen ratings, and it's people filling out a survey, and there's no way to tell.
It's an estimate.
We can tell you right now that we have 25,000 people tuning in next week to the premiere of Metal Shop, and that's just the listeners. We have a lot of people listening at work. We are an all-American, hard-working class station. You're going to find KRFK radio playing at the auto shop, the body shop, people's offices, where there's groups of people listening to the station at the same time. So for those 25,000 feeds, you might have some of them are a dozen or more listeners at the same time. We're reaching a lot of people, and that's what it's all about. So as long as it's working, we're going to keep building it and try and deliver the best product possible. And it's not easy getting people to realize that it's not radio. But it is radio. It's just a new way of expressing the same content and platform that we all grew up listening to. It's not Spotify. Now, Spotify, you can have your automated AI DJ come on, and my daughter does this. It's like the little DJ comes on and talks in the AI voice. We think you will like to listen to this now. It's not the same. I mean, Spotify, Amazon, YouTube, they all bring something to the table, but online radio brings shows like the Classic Metal Show. And by the way, I was listening to your show on the KRFK free mobile app before you guys came on, and the audio quality that we're getting on KRFK radio is state of the art. Thanks to our producer, Corey. Man, it sounds big time, and it sounds the same in the middle of nowhere that it sounds in your driveway. So I don't know why you would want to compromise your listening experience by enjoying anything else other than online or internet radio.
Well, Ron, Chris and I were major fans of XM radio when it hit, back in the late 90s into the early 2000s. And, both Chris and I are major fans of Opie and Anthony's show, which to us was like the pinnacle of what you want to call freeform radio. And obviously satellite radio has already come and gone. It's kind of over. And I don't know why anyone would pay for satellite radio when you got our radio networks to listen to, and you could just listen to it on your phone. And I'm just like Chris. When I get in my car, the first thing I do is I plug in the iPhone and go to my app and start playing whatever I feel like listening to at the time, whether it's old archive shows or whether it's streaming music or, you mentioned Spotify or whatever the case may be. But people have a choice, and you don't have to be a slave to your commercial radio outlets. I can't tell you the last time I listened to commercial radio. I bet you it's been close to a decade already. And just the fact that there's what do you want to call free form, uncensored radio out there to listen to. It's just that it's amazing to me people still buy satellite radio. And it's like, are you kidding me? You're listening to Hair Nation? I mean, they're playing the same playlist twice in 24 hours. It's like, what the hell are you listening to?
They've had 2 Keel songs in rotation on Hair Nation for the last 20 years or more. It's the same 2 Keel songs. We've all heard them before. You want to hear the new stuff and the old stuff. KRFK Radio prides itself on a really diverse format. You're going to hear a lot of your favorites, but you're going to hear a lot of stuff you've never heard before. We dig deep into the catalog and the history of metal and hard rock without any restrictions on style or genre. You're going to hear southern rock and doom metal and whatever, all these other kinds of metal. I asked Charlie this in my interview. I had Charlie on my show a couple of weeks ago to start promoting Metal Shop, and I asked Charlie, what is metal to you? And this is a common question. I mean, because it has evolved, it has changed. Charlie said something to me that was really profound. He said, I can't really describe it. You have to experience it. It's a feeling. It's a sound that encompasses all of these genres. If it's got big crunchy guitars, anthem choruses, and screaming vocals, thunderous drums, it's probably metal.
Right, but then there's ballads, and I'm okay with that.
Well,
where every rose has its thorn. Play that for me. Again. No. I'm kidding.
Well, Charlie, let me ask you this. And we're kind of talking around it, but I'm going to ask you directly. KRFK, of all of the internet stations, and I am a definite internet station listening maniac. I listen to internet radio pretty much all day, every day. And KRFK is probably, and I can't think of another one, the premier station that not only features rock and metal, but is bringing you the biggest shows that are out there today that are keeping the music alive, whether it's Trunk, whether it's Dee Snider, whether it's Ron's show, Streets of Rock and Roll. There's shows as well as that. And then obviously you coming into it is a huge get. And I know you know that, but for you as a DJ, as somebody that probably has the competitive edge to him, do you feel like you got to be better than all those guys and you got to set the standard for the station?
Hell no. I think I need to be the best I can be, just like you should. You should be the best you can be.
We are the best, so.
There you go. See? You got it. You're already in the bag. Here's the deal. Every radio station that I ran that won, WNEW New York, WBC in Boston, WMMS Cleveland, WMMR Philadelphia, it was on 24 hours a day, 7 days a week with everybody who worked there. We lived that motherfucker. And we won. And that's what I see in what Ron Keel has been. KRFK Radio is a station I now listen to all the time. There's nothing else I want to hear. It's all there. Right. And I get to be a part of it. And I'm a happy guy.
Yeah, Charlie, you're amazing. And, one of the huge unseen benefits of this, of course, it was a good business deal. But becoming friends with Charlie Kendall and seeing this guy and hearing this guy working with him behind the scenes, and his passion for music, his experience in broadcasting, that magic voice every time we talk on the phone. It's a huge thrill. I mean, I didn't realize his passion and his excitement to be a part of this. Now, that being said, Charlie, don't come cheap. All right, so we have a line of Metal Shop merch that we like to pitch right now. We got, and I opened up the box because I wanted to show some stuff
for my own shit. By the way,
no, Charlie, your box is on the way. I dropped it off. You will get your big Metal Shop swag box free. I said free, but then I opened up the boxes and I realized, oh shit, they sent me all these different colors. We've got black mugs, army green mugs. We've got. I like the blue myself. The blue is cool. The blue Metal Shop mug. Of course, you've seen the Metal Shop leather wristbands that I've been sporting during the show. And if I don't drink whiskey anymore, but if I did.
Wait a minute. Stop right there.
Hold on.
Stop right there. You don't drink whiskey anymore?
Breaking news.
Vino Bianco, my friend. Just a glass of wine every now and then.
What?
Wow.
One glass at a time.
Who are you? Who is this guy?
Man, I've got a business to run. This is serious shit, right? So we've got the Metal Shop flask, and if you had something in your flask, you could put it in your Metal Shop shot glass.
Look at that.
So all the cool stuff and patches. Like I said, Charlie, don't come cheap, man. So people go to rfkmediashop.com. You need this patch on your leather, on your cut. We've got a bunch of different patches. Wristbands, the necklace. Oh, did I? Hold on.
Oh, there's I'm
juggling mugs.
Let me pull him up here. I'm going to put him on full screen.
Mug juggling. All right. I've got the Metal Shop necklace.
Wow.
All the cool stuff, man.
Is that getting me backstage?
And the Metal Shop bar tool. This comes in handy for all kinds of cool stuff. So make sure you go to rfkmediashop.com so we can pay Charlie what he's earning and what he's so heartily deserves.
I'm seeing a pattern here, Ron. Everything you showed us is like alcohol oriented. So are all our fans just a bunch of alcoholics?
Well, if you are addicted, you can always try the patch, but I don't think it's going to work. You know?
But do you have any Metal Shop straws? I'm just saying, sorry.
That's a great idea, Charlie. I'm going to make that happen, brother. I'm going to make that happen.
Let me make a note real quick.
By the way, I'll just say it because Ron did. I've been sober since 1993. You should have seen me before. Yeah.
You and Keith Richards and a bottle of Rebel Yell. I've heard the story, man. It's epic.
My God. He dragged me under the fucking table. And I'm watching him do a 3-hour show. He's Keith Richards and I'm not.
That is funny.
Well, Charlie, let me ask you something. I mean, obviously you came up in an era where, you went to a radio station. It was a professional setup with, the broadcast and transmitters and microphones and, everything was there for you. I mean, over the years, when I started the Classic Metal Show back in 96 and we moved to the internet in 2003, as far as like a full-time thing, Chris and I, the internet was kind of a new thing for most people as far as like a streaming radio thing was concerned. And Chris and I and people who got into the, internet radio, we had to build our own stations. And I had the technical expertise as far as like the equipment is concerned. And Chris had the back end of it as far as like the IT part of it and making the streaming work and stuff. And I can't tell you the stories about us working at making that happen and building it to where it is today without any corporate, money, because we could not be funded by corporate money because our content was too raw. It was, we used a lot of language people didn't like. We talked about a lot of subjects that make people uncomfortable. And we self-financed all of this over the last, 20 plus years. What is your take as far as like somebody who comes from the era of actual terrestrial radio broadcast and stepping into a fairly new era where it's, done on your own? as far as Ron obviously has built an empire here with RFK Media. But, the thing is that everybody who's doing this on the internet, they built it on their own with probably no money.
Absolutely. No, but the whole thing is the technology finally started working here in the last 5-10 years. Before that, what you're talking about in 96, was dial-up.
It was.
You couldn't download a 3 meg song. You couldn't get it downloaded. It would crash, and then you'd have to dial back up and where's AOL, and try to download the damn thing. Well, we're at a place, I think now, this is just me. I think terrestrial radio has got itself in such a bind with content. They have none. They've got no content. They have nothing that appeals to actual people. All they're doing is running 20, 30 minutes of commercials every hour and flushing their audience. The estimates that Ron was talking about, the rating surveys, it's bullshit. There's nothing really going on because people are running away from it in droves. At first, over the 10 years ago, there was a lot of buzz and there was a lot of buzzwords and there was a lot of things about the internet that turned out not to be quite there yet. It's there now. The internet is there now. The internet competes with terrestrial radio. Terrestrial radio will come back to guys like Ron Keel and say, will you supply programming for our stations? It's going to happen because they don't have any content and they don't want to be bothered with people like us.
Right? Do you think that it will come back, or do you think the rest of the I call them the lazy listeners, just the people that they know how to turn their radio on in their car, and that's why they listen to terrestrial radio. Do you think that terrestrial radio will adapt, or do you think that the quote-unquote lazy listeners will adapt and go to... Because no matter what happens with terrestrial, you're still going to have to deal with the FCC. And I think that is what is one of the major players. And not even, we can say fuck, shit, cunt all we want to, but I think that the real draw for radio listeners, for music fans, is being able to hear songs the way they are instead of hearing dropouts and backmasks and beeps and all that stuff. And I think that having a non-FCC regulated medium is one of the biggest reasons that we're seeing an increase. What do you think?
I think it's I think it's actually the music itself. As far as, dropping F words, we can take care of that. Right. That's an easily done thing. That's simple. I had to do it for 60 years. So yeah, I can do it, Sure. But I probably don't want to, Poor Corey or guys like Corey will be there having to fix those things before they go out to the FCC regulated stations. Right. I'm not going to bother with it. I'm not going to get...
Me neither. No, me neither, Charlie. I have 2 terrestrial stations broadcasting my show, Streets of Rock and Roll. And they wanted to come on and pay the broadcast fee and be a part of the affiliate network. And I said, look, I don't have time to go and create a special edited version of the show for you. And they'll take care of it. So I'm not going to incur any of those $100,000 FCC fines if somebody during an interview, the interviews are one thing.
The licensee gets a fine, not you.
Yeah. The interviews are okay. I can bleep that out if I have to, but if it's a lyric of a song, I might not even know. I might miss it by accident if somebody drops an F-bomb during a lyric or says shit or fuck or whatever. I don't have time to mess with that. They want to hear the show. They can tune into KRFK Radio. And I do want to also make an additional announcement while we can, because Charlie's show, Charlie Kendall's Metal Shop, debuts on Saturday night, October 7th at 7 p.m. on KRFK Radio. And people are going to miss it. They're going to go, damn, I missed it. When can I hear it again? And I want to announce right now that Charlie's going to also take over my slot on Wednesday mornings for 10 weeks. We're going to rebroadcast Metal Shop on Wednesday mornings as part of Midday Mayhem. We've got a big lineup on Wednesday with Joe Elliott from Def Leppard. My show is broadcast at 11 o'clock Eastern every Wednesday, but I need to take some time off to finish the new Ron Keel album. So Charlie's going to have my back, and we're going to rebroadcast Metal Shop every Wednesday morning at 11 a.m. Eastern time on KRFK Radio.
Very good.
Yeah.
Excellent. Go ahead, Charlie.
Nothing. I just said, yeah. I didn't know that. I just found out.
Well, we get I mean, Saturday night is great. I mean, we all grew up listening to Metal Shop on the weekend nights, Saturday, Sunday nights. But KRFK has a lot of working class people that are at the auto shop or at the store, or at the office, or whatever, they're listening during the workday. Our workday audience is huge, and we want to make sure they can catch Charlie Kendall's Metal Shop on KRFK every Wednesday.
Right on. Well, Ron, let me ask this one. Let me put the one business question out there for this. I know I've seen in the teaser and in some of the press stuff about sponsorship for the show. If people wanted to sponsor their brick and mortar or their IT service or whatever it is that they do, how would they go about doing that to get to be a sponsor on Metal Shop?
We've got a great sponsor package ready for you. All you have to do is email contact@krfkradio.com. And there are a number of ways to reach us on the main website, rfkmedia.com. Shoot us a message, WhatsApp. All of our contact info and emails are on there. We are looking for sponsors, and maybe I'm a little late to the party, but I wanted to wait until we really had the product in hand before we started pitching heavily, because I didn't realize what a monster this was going to become. Frankly, I thought, okay, we're going to resurrect Metal Shop, and hopefully Charlie's cool with this, right? And hopefully Corey can get the shows produced, right? And now it's all on. It's really happening. So I'm a little late to the party pitching those sponsors. So the first episode of Charlie Kendall's Metal Shop is sponsored by rfkmedia.com, baby. So we are actively looking. We want to go big or go home. We're going to reach a huge audience. I think Craftsman Tools is perfect.
I love that.
Let's carve up our broadcast with your commercials, Craftsman Tools. Bring it on.
Oh, give me, what's that slogan you had?
Oh, I don't remember, Charlie. What was it?
Every metal shop needs craftsman's tools.
Every metal shop needs Craftsman Tools. What about the buzzsaw? I mean, the buzzsaw is our signature logo and the sound. It's Craftsman Tools. Come on. And I talked to the guy from Craftsman actually this week. So hopefully he's listening in, and this will seal the deal.
No question. Well, I can't wait. I mean, and Charlie, I'll just tell you directly. I know I said it to Ron, and I certainly said it to Corey. I can't thank you enough for letting me even have the tiniest part in this thing, doing some interviews here and there to help out, because that is, for me saying that I did even anything on Metal Shop is like saying, I co-hosted with Howard Stern or whatever. I mean, it's a huge thing for me.
We're happy to have you. We'll take all the help we can get. Thank you.
Well, it's appreciated.
Yeah, it really is. It really is a team sport, man. Chris, you've done an amazing job with the interviews. Corey in the production, Jamie, who is our intern, taking care of a lot of the imaging and sound effects. And I've tried to do my part. Charlie Kendall's doing the heavy lifting just by saying. It's Charlie Kendall's gig, man. I mean, he is the top of the totem pole. We're just all trying to hold it up, There you go.
I just cannot be more excited that it's happening. I really, just as a fan, I'm thrilled that it's happening, and it needs to happen, because we're in such a, at least in my opinion, we're in such a weird place right now where there are no more like shows that people are really excited to hear. And it's cool to have a few of them starting to either develop or come back. And Metal Shop, this was huge for a lot of us. So welcome back, Charlie.
Well, thank you. Happy to be here. And thank that guy, Ron Keel.
Yeah, it's huge. It's huge for me.
Would be happening.
If I'm going to lose my number one slot in the ratings on KRFK Radio, I couldn't lose it to a nicer guy or a more talented broadcaster.
Hey, listen, we're all in this shit together, pal.
That's right.
It's a team sport, like you said. We all fight together on the field. We live, we die, or not. It's up to us.
Yes.
Well, Charlie,
Charlie, thank you.
Charlie, I got to tell you, it's just, again, I'm like Chris here. looking back through life and in, everything that's transpired, especially since the 80s, because I lived in LA from 85 to 91. And, that was the height of, what the classic metal era, whatever you want to call it. And,
The age of Grizzardi's.
yeah. And listening to your show and discovering bands and so on and so forth and having you here on the show. I mean, it really does take me back, and it's it's an honor to have you here on my show, a show that I started 28 years ago. And it's just like, so it's an honor. That's all I got to tell you.
The radio stations that you guys grew up with, did the disc jockeys talk back and forth from time to time?
No.
They never talked to each other, like what they called crossovers in the game. No,
we did when I was on commercial radio. We did it. When I was on MMS and XRK, we did it. But we were a specialty show. By the time I actually got into radio, it was already very corporatized. Where this is the morning show, and then you literally close the door on the morning show, and then the afternoon guy doesn't talk to the morning guy, and it was that radio.
I did Leo in the afternoon. I would drop in his show in the afternoon because I did mornings, and we'd lock the street door and blow a number. We did it. That's the way it was played,
right?
And we weren't hiding it. We were doing it and talking on the air,
right?
And we kicked ass. Jesus, MMS is a great station.
Yeah, it was. I don't know so much now, but it was then. But...
Well, like I said, the corporate goons have pretty well fucked it all up.
Amen to that.
Yeah, unfortunately, Charlie, I was going to broadcast school when that new regulation hit with that Clinton bill.
The 96, yeah.
Yeah, and it just blew everything out of the water for me.
Well, there were people who wanted the stock market and the money that came with it more than they wanted to do actual radio. It was just a matter of multiples. How much money can you drag in, and how much can you increase the value of the stock? And that remains all they care about today, which is awful. Because I loved radio. It was so much fun, but it's done.
Yeah, I agree.
Well, the value of KRFK stock just went through the roof thanks to you, Charlie Kendall.
I'll buy it. I'll buy stock. You got some? No problem.
All right, very good. All right, Charlie. Well, again, welcome aboard. It's an honor. I'm glad to have had you here on our show. It's a big day for me. I know Chris feels the same way.
Absolutely.
Of course, Ron has been a good friend of ours for a couple of decades now, and all of us are excited about broadcast radio, and to have again, I don't want to sound like I'm sucking your dick, Charlie, but to have a broadcast legend be a part of our show tonight is a milestone for me. So thank you.
My pleasure. And you need anything, not that I can do the things I used to do, just let me know.
Perfect.
Very good.
All right, Ron, I know you got those plugs, memorized. So once again, tell everybody where they can hear the debut of Metal.
Like a circus barker, isn't he? It's great.
Well, I highly recommend downloading the free KRFK mobile app for your iOS or Android. Now, the Android version should be launched this week. Google is putting me through hell trying to get this thing. Chris, you know how how many hoops you have to jump through, and they keep rejecting the app for whatever reason. But the iOS Android app is loud and clear, but you can listen online wherever you are. Open up the browser on your phone.
Let me interrupt.
KRFKradio.com.
Let me interrupt just for 1 second, Ron. If by chance by Saturday they do not have the iOS app together, then you can still listen to KRFK Radio on the CMS Network app, where we also have the show. And it is approved through Google, so one way or the other, you can listen that way as well.
That's a great idea. I will start plugging that and making sure our fans and listeners know how to do that. We're getting a ton of angry listeners wanting that Android app, and Google is I've bent over as far as I possibly can. But we'll get it done, and in the meantime, they can listen on the CMS app.
That's right.
Thank you.
So go ahead.
Did you ever think you would become the P.T. Barnum of radio in the year 2023, Ron?
Man, no, I had no idea. I've always had a passion for radio. Of course, Charlie, you know what it's like growing up, and you want to be a rock star or a DJ, and I've gotten to be both.
I tried both. Yeah.
I've really been able to live my dream through both mediums, being able to be an artist, performer, songwriter, singer. I'm making records, and really it all comes down to entertaining people and putting on a show. But I can't thank you enough for being a part of KRFK Radio, part of my life, and now I can call you a friend. It's just, as you said, full circle and a dream come true for guys like me and our producer, Corey Harker.
Good.
Perfect.
And thanks for having us on, guys, tonight. Great job. Keep it up.
All right. Well, it's been quite a fun evening for me so far. For having our good friend Ron, and of course introducing us to Charlie Kendall and the reintroduction of Metal Shop, and I'm excited. So everybody tune in, and let's rock. All right, Charlie. Well, it would be a big honor for me if I could get you to introduce a band that I learned about through Metal Shop so many years ago. Is one of my favorite bands, because I heard about them on Metal Shop, was Armored Saint. Oh. And I want you to introduce the Armored Saint song Rain of Fire from the Symbol of Salvation release on the Classic Metal Show.
Here's Armored Saint, Rain of Fire on the Classic Metal Shop.